Call this meeting back to order. Do I have a motion that we came out of the closed session? Do we open back up this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Harris is not with us tonight due to some physical problems she's having today. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you to everybody that's joining us for our May 3rd night meeting. Starting out, does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest in regards to anything in our agenda tonight? If so, please state at this time. Mr. Phillips?
No, sir.
Mr. Corbett?
No.
Mr. Nern?
No.
Mr. Foreman?
No.
All right. Moving on, amendment and approval of the draft agenda. Does anybody have anything needs to be amended?
I'd like to make an addition and add at the towards the end of the meeting under new business a discussion of a town letter to the Fire Department of New York requesting material from the World Trade Center.
All right, that'll go in. That'll be number 2 on the new business, and that'll drop disposition of directives to number 3. Anyone else have anything?
Not for me. Sir.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the draft agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Action discussing from the closed session. We had no action, so we'll be moving on to the general council discussion. Any member of council have anything?
Just, I have one item.
Go ahead.
The Causeway Bay extension, State Road 31 extension, I just received right before the end of the meeting. They've got developments and they're taking a very serious look at a route that we proposed on the other side of US 17. And actually in the write-up in the package that I'll share to Lisa to send out to us, if I read it correctly, it said it was a strong support from the town of Sunset Beach that it's propelled them to analyze seriously an alternative route on the other side of US 17. So that's happening. It's nothing final, nothing finished. It's just happening.
Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Charlie, go ahead.
On Tuesday, April 6th, my grandson Ryan came out of the ocean rubbing his eye. Ryan's eyes started swelling and he was having trouble breathing. My daughter took Ryan to the house and called 911. Firefighter Josh Carteret and firefighter Andrew Davis responded and found Ryan's eyes swollen almost shut and in respiratory distress. They injected Ryan with epinephrine, which helped immediately. I want to publicly thank firefighter Davis and firefighter Carteret for saving Ryan's life.
Here, here.
One other thing, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
just to report that I attended the North Carolina Beaches, Inlets, and Waterways Conference, which was a 2-day meeting that reported on the activities that are happening on the North Carolina coast. Lots of activities relating to beach renourishment, dredging of inlets and waterways. Too much to report on here. It was a 2-day meeting. It was quite interesting. Moffett and Nickel was present there. So it was very interesting to attend. It put a different light on the dredging that we're doing here. There's a lot of other activity going on in the state with respect to dredging, beach renourishment. There was a lot of talk about spoils, dispositions. So it was a good meeting to attend. That's it.
Anyone else? All right, moving on. Our public hearing on Article 6 and Article 8, lot size, lot width, setbacks. Go ahead, Chad. Okay.
I move we open the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, council, mayor. We're public hearing tonight to hear the public comments on the zoning text amendment to 2104 on the increase in density and non-conforming in the MR3 zoning district.
Got public comments for that?
Need to tell them they're 3 minutes.
Yeah. Good. You'll please step up to the mic, report your name and your address, and you have a 3-minute time window to speak, please.
Whoever wants to go first.
My name is Dr. Lewis Townsend. I'd like to just make a simple statement. It has a little bit to do
Your
with
address, sir?
I'm sorry?
Address, please.
Oh, 226 Rice Mill Circle, Sunset Beach, North Carolina,
Thank you.
in Sea Trail.
Go ahead, sir.
I would like to start with a simple statement. Economics being what they are, expansion loomed and the islanders balked. Many did not like newcomers. It's still the same today. Once someone gets their piece of paradise, they start to resent the fact that anybody else with some extra pocket change can do the same thing and disturb their tranquility. This was the beginning of the islanders versus the developers. This quote was taken from Sunset Beach, A History, 2010 by Jacqueline DeGrout and Miller Pope. In 1976, Ed Gore, John Williams, Paul Dennis, and Miller Pope formed Sea Trail Corporation. Then came Oyster Bay, rated the best new resort course in America. Other courses in Sea Trail followed with the, quote, fine dining establishments on campus. The 90s through the early 2000s continued the growth, so by 2006, a U.S. Open qualifier was held on the Jones course. Sea Trail had become a most desired community. Unfortunately, Sea Trail is showing its age and the lack of development for several decades now. When one reads comments on the golf courses online, the majority mention the disrepair of the cart paths. This is not a reflection on the on-site management, just the lack of a vision plan for the entire community. I am a physician. I'm retired and moved here with my wife, a physician assistant, just over a year ago from the District, Maryland, Virginia area. We love this community, our neighbors, and Sunset Beach. We talked to a lot of folks that have been here over 20 years and that lament the, quote, old days of fine dining after a great round of golf. Being a physician, I spent my career being objective, obtaining facts the best I could to arrive at independent decisions about issues that affect my patients. I've sat on the boards of directors of hospitals, a surgical center, and a large medical practice manager group, which currently accounts for 5% of all the infant deliveries in the United States. I was a major voice for the vision for the future of these entities. I've listened to a Sunset Beach council meeting recently that was of February 2021, at which one member feels that it's his duty to speak for his residents of Sunset Beach / Sea Trail and to protect them, and that the vision for Sea Trail should be the town council's vision and not the Sea Trail vision. I read recent newspaper articles about this situation, reviewed Riptide's plans for development improvements, and have spoken to Robert Hill personally. While I do appreciate that some of the town's concerns, after reviewing the facts, I feel that Riptide's overall vision, which will take place over many years, will improve the quality of life and economics not only of Sea Trail members, but also for the town of Sunset Beach. It's very important to stop the downward spiral of Sea Trail and Sunset Beach and return it to its days of 1992, when Money Magazine named Sea Trail one of the best buys in the nation, and when Changing Times called Sea Trail and Sunset Beach one of the top 5 retirement areas in the country. Again, quoting Mr. Grout and Pope again. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Feels funny to be talking to the wall over here. I'm a longtime Sunset Beacher, 31 years.
Name and address, please.
Jack Lambert, or John Lambert, 627 Oyster Bay Drive, Sunset Beach.
Thank you.
That's in Sea Trail too. The suburbs, as we call them. Anyway, I love this town. I love the beach. I love the park, the turtles, Sea Trail, the solitude, quality of life, etc. This place has been remarkable for 31 years. I, like everybody else, one of my major investments was a house here. And we bought our house, we built a house actually, and we went by all the rules. First, we started with a club villa, and we liked it so much, we then bought land, and then we built a house. And the reason we bought was because Mr. Gore made a comment, and he said he wants this town and Sea Trail to be like Kiowa. And I always remembered that. It was a great quote from him. And the reason we liked it so much, because he said, we're going to protect the trees, we're going to protect the views, we're going to protect everything about the town and everything about Sea Trail. And that's one of the reasons Sea Trail became, as the previous gentleman said, one of the best places to retire. There were a lot of rules. You know, there were setbacks, impervious coverage and rules, tree rules, but you know something? It worked. We may not have been happy about every single thing that happened, but it worked, and we had lots of nice houses, lots of nice people came here. But today, there's no rules anymore. We can clear cut trees. We can put houses on lots that are so small that my lot that my house is on could fit 3 of those houses. And I'm not on a big piece of property by any means. There's no setbacks. You know, when I drive down my street, I look, we have 35 trees on my property. Nowadays, the new houses being built here have absolutely no trees on them because they take it all. We're being killed with congestion. If you try and get out of the post office parking lot, or if you try and get out of the Food Lion parking lot, the whole town is getting inundated with people. And this isn't even the summer yet. Certainly, it's not the vision of us, of the buyers, the investors in Sea Trail and in Sunset Beach. And I'd like the board, you gentlemen up there, and Jan, sorry, the board in general, to think of the quality of life and to think of what we bought here, what we expected here, and what's happening for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Lawrence Hershoff. I live at 219 Barony Place Drive, and some of you have heard me speak about this before. I was a real estate banker for over 10 years and taught real estate at Bryant University. So please understand my comments are based on facts and experience, not hearsay. I fully support the actions taken by the Planning Board and the Town Council in attempting to protect the citizens of Sunset Beach from uncontrolled development. I recognize that development will continue in this town and developers will continue to make money. The proposed changes to the UDO are consistent with managing, but not eliminating, the development of our town's property. It will not disenfranchise the nearly 1,000 units already approved and in process. And we all recognize that our town of about 5,000 residents will grow to about 7,500 residents in the near future. However, with well over 1,000 acres of undeveloped land in Sunset Beach, we would be ill-served if we did not make the proposed changes. lest we become a congested New Jersey-style beach town of 20 or 1,000 more residents with the attendant traffic, crime, stormwater issues that overdevelopment brings. Many of us chose this town over places like Myrtle Beach, Ocean Isle Beach, and Wrightsville Beach, among others, so that we could enjoy the quality of life in a beach town with no beach congestion. And it is within our rights to protect the character of this very special place. To that end, we are willing to limit development and pay higher taxes in exchange for Sunset Beach remaining a very pleasant place. And please note that these changes are not aimed at a single developer, they are aimed at a single community. I happen to live very close to a recently approved 98-unit development with 7,500 square foot lots. Nothing can change that. But if our new UDO changes had been in place, perhaps it would have only been a 70-unit development, more in character with our neighborhood. The developer will still make plenty of money, but there would be less traffic, higher lot prices, less stormwater problems, less public safety problems, and less evacuation issues that we are now going to be faced with. There would be less incentive to fill in part of a lake to create saleable lots. Many people fault the town for not dealing with the situation earlier, but at least they are facing up to these issues now in support of the constituents they are honor-bound to protect. So we cannot protect ourselves from the madhouse development that's underway in Calabash, Ocean Isle Beach, and Conway, South Carolina, to name a few. Old Georgetown Road is already becoming a traffic nightmare, and we all know to avoid 4 Mile Road on certain days. I categorically reject the horse pucky that building thousands of small houses in Sunset Beach will improve our property values. I fully support these UDO changes and the imposition of higher impact fees, tougher building restrictions, and other measures to protect our quality of life. And I thank the town and the council for pursuing these changes now. To those who threaten lawsuits and de-annexation, my message is clear. If you don't want to be part of Sunset Beach, then you're free to go somewhere else. You can either be part of improving the quality of life here, or you can join the folks who are trying to destroy it. We do hope that Sunset Beach does not have to resort to building moratoriums and rezoning that are reportedly being discussed elsewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Hargraves. I live at 612 Deacon Court in Sunset Beach. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the UDO Amendments 6 and 8 regarding lot size, lot width, and setbacks. I can certainly understand that these changes are a concern to builders and developers. But as citizens of Sunset Beach, we have to think about the future of development in our town. What will be the character of future development in Sunset Beach? I believe a positive vote for the proposed changes will be a significant step in creating a positive vision for future development. We all must remember that in 2017, the town conducted a land use study with input from all sectors of the community. The final product of that study strongly supported, and I quote, preserving the traditional character, intensity, and density of the residential areas. These proposed changes will help meet that goal. So I encourage the council to vote in favor of the proposed changes this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Stephen Miller, and I live at 140 Forest Walk in Sunset Beach, in the Sea Trail community. I've lived here about 3 years. I built a new house about a year and a half ago here. And I have a couple comments. One, I don't have a crystal ball that talks about what our taxes. I'm not willing to pay higher taxes, as one speaker said. Okay, I thought I was. I don't know what the taxes are going to be shortly. I'm just not sure, but that we're going to pay higher taxes, that are willing to pay higher taxes, the man speaks for himself, not for me. As far as the density, you said in 2017 there was a study that said the density should remain the same. I'm speaking against the new proposed changes because you're changing the density. You're making it, you're making changes, which in my mind, you're making changes after commitments have been made and investments made for properties within, especially with inside Sea Trail. I've heard an awful lot of people talk poorly about Riptide, but I would tell you that everything that I've seen so far in Riptide is the first thing they did was hire people to go out and landscape and bought landscaping equipment to clean up lots and to make the whole place look better. They made all the entrances look better. They've repainted everything. They did that on their dime, not ours. So there seems to be an awful lot of prejudice against Riptide and the other developers. Now, I agree that there can be some changes in development plans, but they think they need to be made long term, so that all of the people that make these investments have the opportunity to plan accordingly. To have to go in and say you have to change lot size now after plans had already been drawn and approved just doesn't seem fair to me. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Excuse me.
Maybe talk like this. Mr. Mayor and Sunset Beach Town Council members, my name is Roz Dolan, and I live in Sea Trail at 627 Eastwood Park Road. We have been property owners in Sea Trail since 2003, first in purchasing a brand new condo in 2003, and then moving here full-time and building a home in 2013. We love Sea Trail and Sunset Beach and want the best for both. Sea Trail is a diverse master plan community that needs to finish the development to fully support the amenities that were built in the 90s. We moved here for the beach and the 3 golf courses. The golf courses need more homeowner members and outside package play to ensure their viability and profitability, to also improve the current quality of the golf courses, and to reopen the restaurants that have been closed. The town of Sunset Beach needs to ensure survival of the golf courses. Golf course profitability is much more important than recreational zoning. We have a convention center that has been closed for 2 years. We need new development, including new condos in Sea Trail, to reopen these amenities. The town of Sunset Beach needs to plan for future development instead of trying to control future development. The Sea Trail Master Association, working together with Riptide, has a chance to enhance Sea Trail and bring it back to the thriving golf and resort community that it was 20 years ago. We now have a declarant developer that wants to invest in Sea Trail, so please let them bring their vision to reality. Please give Riptide a chance to revitalize Sea Trail. What is the town trying to accomplish with changing the UDO minimum lot sizes and setbacks? This has been discussed for the last 6+ months, and I see no advantage for Sea Trail. Sea Trail has many different communities with different lot sizes and single-family home sizes, as well as condo and townhome communities. This diversity makes Sea Trail unique. Many retirees today want smaller homes and lot sizes. Please allow this diversity and development to continue. Also, please approve the townhomes of Eastwood Bluffs as a townhome community. We need to support the current townhome owners that currently live there. We hope the town and Riptide can work together to allow the Sea Trail vision to be completed. Please vote no for the UDO changes, and please don't mess with Sea Trail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Town Council, this is Carol Santavica. I sat on the planning board for more than 9 years here. One of my concerns has always been that the zoning in most of the town does not line up with the vision and the land use plan. We talked way back when about making the zoning reflect what's being built and what was planned to be built. I support these changes because they are bringing the zoning more in line with the land use plan and the vision that originally was had for Sea Trail. I hope that Riptide, from what I can see, they're doing a good job, and I hope that they are sticking with the original plan that was for Sea Trail. I don't know if they are or not. But be aware that all of the Sea Trail property yet to be developed is zoned multi-family. Every last piece of it. Every last piece of it could have condos on it. So it is a choice of whoever's developing that land rather than our choice of how our community develops. I think that these changes put us more in line with what the original Sea Trail plan was, and certainly with how our land use plan is written. And the land use plan hasn't changed that much since I've been here, and I've been here almost 22 years. So the vision is the same. We're bringing the zoning now more in line with that vision. That's why I support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Cliff Dolan. I live at 627 Eastwood Park Road, Sunset Beach, North Carolina. First of all, I want to thank the two chiefs, Ken and Paul, for your continued support to the community. And a big thanks goes to Dustin and Cindy for your responsiveness over the past years regarding our roads. I'm here to stand for progress, moving forward within Sea Trail. Sea Trail has been stagnant for many years. The closing of the convention center, Brassey's Pub, Tavern on the Tee, and that's only a few. In the past, the Sea Trails Masters Association has had an adversarial relationship with the declarant, with nothing being accomplished in these past years. Some of these past members have provided you their comments and points of views. Ladies and gentlemen, the times are changing, and we need smart decisions and smart development. The old days are gone. It's time to get new development with new guidelines. It's time now for everybody to sit down and act like adults and talk around the table and work all this stuff out. I think we should give Riptide a chance and see what they can do. I don't do social media for a reason. I think it's a waste of time. In closing, don't let a few constituents speak for the many. We voted for you guys to replace or to represent all of Sea Trail and all of us, not just a few. Remember, Sea Trail represents a good size of the percent of the voting population on the mainland. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Dana Conley. I live at 358-4 Sea Trail Drive East. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. You may or may not know I've been a resident of Sunset Beach for almost 32 years. I have been fortunate enough to have had other family members relocate to Sunset Beach and Sea Trail, also in the late 80s and early 90s. They loved it here, I love it here, and I want our town to grow thoughtfully while not only maintaining but also improving its quality of life. When my family initially purchased in 1989, Sea Trail already had a great mix of single-family home sites, multifamily short-term resort accommodations and amenities, multifamily long-term living units, along with 3 great golf courses and 2 clubhouses. With several hundred future development acres still a part of the Sea Trail project, future plans were for the same type of development mix throughout its boundaries. I work now for Chinaway, a major property owner that has heavily invested in our town's golfing amenities and leisure lifestyle, which I know they would very much like to maintain and enhance further. There appears to be a misimpression among some that slowing or deterring initial housing construction in Sunset Beach would be good for the community. As far as golf goes, nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, the golf courses need more housing, both multifamily and single family, to keep golf healthy and to allow the golf course business to be financially viable. The best thing you can do for golf in Sunset Beach is to allow developers to build under the rules that have long been in place. Chinaway did not hesitate today to join the other local developers who sent you a joint letter asking you to vote no on the proposed UDO amendment. Please vote no tonight. Thank you. I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
Louise Sensenig, 530 Fairway Drive West, Sunset Beach,
We
Sea
can't hear
Trail.
you.
As a resident of Sunset Beach, more specifically Sea
We
Trail,
can't hear her.
I am very concerned with the negative news, comments, attitudes of many. When we bought in 92, Sunset Beach was a small town and we loved it. At that time, we knew there was more planned for Sunset Beach and Sea Trail and looked forward to it. Then Sea Trail was sold. Bankruptcy and a void was left, not only for Sea Trail, but the community. Now, hopefully, a rebirth to what it was meant to be. Arrived Riptide. Yes, we all knew or should have that in the original plans for Sea Trail, there would be more development. Riptide seems to be forthright in their information. Yes, there will be more residences, but also more amenities and improvements. To be honest, it is to their advantage to make Sea Trail Sunset Beach successful and back to its vision, the one we all knew years ago. I, however, and others are very disappointed in our town council. I have attended many council meetings, closed meetings, changing of rules, turnover of mayors and staff, hiring lobbyists. Are we in Washington? Why cannot compromises happen? We all will gain. We should welcome new businesses and friends. It's sad the way these opportunities are being handled. I thought we were better than this. To see Sunset Beach Sea Trail in the news now is downright embarrassing. Our citizens, businesses deserve better. It's time for all concerned to work for the good of all. Snap it in. Yes, Louise Sensenig, 530 Fairway Drive West, Sunset Beach, Sea Trail.
Thank you.
My name is Richard Dysinger. My family's owned property here since 1991. My wife and I were married on the beach not too far from here in 1984.
What's your address, sir?
704 Fairway Drive East in Sea Trails. It's not binary. It's not either or. I think there's a way for Riptide and the town to work together. However, I think the attempt to bypass the town through the de-annexation process is frankly something I find highly disappointing. We want Riptide to succeed. The question is, who gets to define what success is? I'm a business development executive, and I can tell you right now that the convention center is a dead letter business. It's not coming back. That property needs to be redeveloped for some other use. Turn it into a golf school, like they have down at True Blue in Caledonia with a gentleman that I know named Steve Dresser. Turn it into a commercial center with restaurants, something. But it's never going to be a convention center again. That business is gone. The Javits Center just spent $1.5 billion in New York City refurbishing itself, and it's empty. All of the big shows have canceled, and no corporation is going to insist that their employees go to what potentially could be a spreader event and face the liability, God forbid, they get sick. So I think we have to take kind of a look at what we want to accomplish here. And I think Riptide has good instincts. Yes, we want the golf courses to succeed. Yes, we want more people to be welcomed here in a community that's properly developed at the correct density. That's not always going to make a developer happy. More houses mean more profits, and God bless them. I'm a free market executive. I want people to make money. But there has to be some way for the town and Riptide to come together. It's highly disappointing to see this kind of back and forth on the press releases. Can we all stop that and sit down and talk this out? And that means Riptide and the town. And then I think we'll be able to, yes, reinvigorate Sea Trails. I actually have kind of enjoyed it being a little dormant. Shame on me, but I get it. We have to build back. and make this town come alive a little bit more, because God forbid if the golf courses go out of business, and there's too many golf courses around here, some more of them are going to go out of business. The one at Carolina Shores is in peril right now, and I would hate to see one of the ones within Sea Trails fall to that same fate. So thank you for your time, and best of luck figuring this out.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening. This is Bob Forrester, 110 Crooked Gully Circle. I'm speaking in favor of the adoption of the proposed amendments to Article 6 and Article 8 of the UDO. I think what we need, I'm sure the council's aware of it, but I think we need to refocus a little bit. This is not about Riptide. It's about the MR3 zone district, which includes land substantially in excess of that property which is owned by Riptide. There's the vast majority is owned by other developers, as the council is well aware. So all of the reference to Riptide and concerns about Riptide and benefits of Riptide are may be well taken, but we're talking about the zoning of the MR3 district. You've all heard my specific comments regarding the proposed changes at prior meetings, so bear with me because as an attorney, I focus on regulations and statutes. These amendments are consistent with the 2017 land use plan and were recommended by the planning board following extensive evaluation of existing development data and reasoned consideration of the vision statement and priority goals of the 2017 land use plan. They also meet the purposes of zoning as contained in North Carolina General Statutes 160D-701 to provide light, adequate light and air, to prevent overcrowding of land, to avoid the concentration of population, and to lessen congestion. Those are words out of the statute. Property owners are certainly entitled to reasonably develop their property, and I believe these changes will allow them to do so. However, appropriate growth management, quality of life, character of existing developments, and appropriate density in the best interests of the residents of Sunset Beach are entitled to at least equal consideration. I believe the proposed changes are necessary to maintain the current development patterns accustomed to in the community, to preserve the traditional character, intensity, and density of the residential areas in the MR3 zone district, as is required by the land use plan. To deny the adoption of the amendments, policy statement number 27 of the 2017 land use plan requires that you must identify why denial is inconsistent with the priority goals and vision statements of the 2017 land use plan, why it's necessary, why denial is in the best interest of the community, and how the negative impacts of rejection of the proposed amendments will be mitigated. It's my belief that those requirements cannot be met if the recommended amendments are denied. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Everybody? All right. All right, council, I think it's everybody, if I'm not mistaken, there were 12 people speaking.
Yeah.
Got a motion to close
I
the
move that
public
we
hearing?
close the open hearing,
Do I have a second?
public hearing.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to our presentation part, the dredging project update, Mr. Neal. You have the floor, sir.
What's on? Good evening, council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, and mayor and council. What I want to do tonight is give an update on the dredging project and where we are and next steps forward. I want to talk about is First of all, we have two projects. We've divided the project into two projects. The first one was the hydraulic dredging project. That project has been bid and pending award at this point. It was, and the second project is the mechanical dredging project. It is the clamshell or would be upland disposal. The hydraulic is the nearshore placement. So just the status of the South Dinks Creek work, which is the project that's already been bid out and has a contractor, a preferred contractor, selected contractor ready to sign and start the work November 16th. That company is currently reviewing the additional requirements put in the permit by the Corps of Engineers through negotiations that we've selected for additional sediment sampling for the nearshore placement, and then some physical monitoring activities for the nearshore placement, just to based on concerns that were voiced during the review process. Also, in the mechanical dredging process, the mechanical work, which includes the feeder channel, the Bay Area, Turtles, and Marys Creek, that since we have received the Corps of Engineers, the federal permit, we now have all the permits ready for the work, and we're preparing that bid solicitation to go out. We have a couple of items in order to complete, in order to be ready to dredge, to start that construction November 16th as well. And we'll talk about those. One is a potential realignment in the Bay Area. One is the mapping of the marsh grass. We have to maintain a 10-foot buffer from marsh grasses. And then the other is shellfish relocation in Turtles, Marys Creek, the feeder channel, and the Bay Area potentially. So just to run through just to update quickly, I know we have a lot to do tonight, but again, South Dinks Creek, the hydraulic dredging and nearshore placement, the contract is being reviewed. The contractor is looking at the additional survey work that has to be done, as well as we have to collect 3 sediment samples from the material being placed in the nearshore. 3 sediment samples per week, have those analyzed, and then we can report back that potentially and hopefully, and we believe that the material is beach compatible and suitable for that nearshore placement. And that's the purpose of that, is just to ensure that we are placing beach sand in that area and we're not dredging in an area that contains fines or clay. That is the purpose of that, and we're tracking it at 3 samples per week. We expect about 9 weeks of work or so around 27 samples we anticipate to be collected and tested. Also, that is the survey work is based off of concerns mentioned by the pier, potential shoaling in of the pier, and I think we have that. So just to show the area that will be surveyed is these survey lines that we're showing here, that basically mean high water out to about I think 2,000 feet or so. And that is to track, if we see around the pier, we get a very higher density of survey work, and that's so we can accurately track, is the material spreading or accumulating at that pier, and would there be any impact there. We're also tracking a less dense survey going back to the inlet, so we don't need the density in that location to show, as the material migrates, is it going back toward the inlet, or is it going continuing down towards South Carolina, so to speak. So this is, we are asking the contractor to do pre and post surveys in this area on these additional lines. Previously, we had required surveys post-construction of the sediment placement area, and that is just to show that we maintain that navigation clearance above that. So we are having to add additional lines in that, and that was through negotiations with the Corps of Engineers in order to get the permit, to ease their concerns in issuing the permit. And so that we anticipate, just quickly, we anticipate that the contract will be signed this month, May, and then the contractor is ready and willing and planning to mobilize his equipment mid-October, so that he can begin work as early as possible after November 16th. We cannot place pipeline on the beach prior to November 16th, so there will be a few days after November 16th before we can actually start moving sand, so to speak. I would anticipate around November 20th or so. But the dredge will be here in late October, and he'll set up work as much as he can to be ready for that. So moving to the mechanical dredging, again, there's a couple items that needed that we are moving forward with the bid process. we're planning to move forward with the bid process so that we can solicit contractors and have that ready to go as well by November 16th. A couple items that we lack is shellfish relocation in Turtles Creek, Marys Creek, as we mentioned, in the feeder channel and Bay Area, and also the marsh grass mapping. And we'll talk a little bit about that and show those areas. First is this item I believe at the public meeting, the public hearing back in November, I believe, we had some residents in the Bay Area request a realignment for the dredge in the Bay Area, for that dredge alignment, to realign that so it was closer to the docks. This would, we have presented at 2 public hearings and several mailings, and the property owners are aware of this, that they're sort of late to the show, so to speak, that we try to get this information out to see what would best and let everyone know. They came to us in November. We did not propose to change it at that time because the permit was under review, and we did not want to stop the permit from being reviewed. We did not want to pull that permit out and restart that clock, nor do we want to stop the construction period at this point. So this item, if the council chooses to evaluate changing this alignment, we would not stop construction. It would not delay construction. We wouldn't need a permit modification, but that permit, if it's not granted in time, we would construct as the permit is today. So it would not stop anything, would not delay anything. We were hopeful that the permit could be issued in time, but if it's not, the property owners are aware that we would move forward as is, and then address. They would. That's just the way it would be. What this alignment does is after our project is done, after the main dredging is done, each property owner, if they intend to access their docks, will have to pull private permits, individual permits, that they can dredge from the dock to the dredged area, to the town's main project. So by splitting this, as it stands today, it is one channel going through the center of the Bay Area, about 80 feet wide. The realignment would be splitting into 2 channels about 30 feet wide. So the reason we're going from 80 feet, one single at 80 feet, to 2 at 30 feet is so we do not increase the dredge volume. We do not want to increase that dredge volume. That increases the construction cost. By minimizing that to 30 feet, we believe we can keep the volume below. We don't have an increase in volume. It is different material, but the same or less total volume coming out, and the construction cost is based off that volume. So it's not the contractor doesn't matter where he dredges; it's how much he dredges, so to speak. And so we have proposed this sort of back of the napkin type alignment to get closer to the docks so that they would not have to pull those individual permits. And that's consideration that is later on the agenda. But so that's one item. Looking at the other is this is the areas where both the marsh grass needs to be mapped, as well as the shellfish need to be relocated in these sites. In the original permit, I think back in 2017, we did a shellfish study in both Turtles and Marys Creek, identified where shellfish were located in that dredge area. Those shellfish need to be removed, plus any new ones that can be found there. Also in the feeder channel and finger canals, we did not do a shellfish study. We simply agreed that we would remove any shellfish that are in that area based on the permit conditions. And so this just highlights where those areas are. And also, state rules require that we maintain a 10-foot buffer from any marsh grass. In the feeder channel, there is a significant amount of marsh grass, as well as in the Turtles and Marys Creek. We mapped these grasses in 2017 as well, but now that we're finally at the construction point, we'll need to update that and make sure we maintain 10 feet from that for any dredging. And so we will update those plans. That this work does not need to be done prior to the bidding. We're using the 2017 data. We don't believe they've changed considerably. We think we'll see some changes, but it will not slow down the bidding process. It just needs to be updated prior to construction, so we have time for that We wanted to secure a contractor. Obviously, they'll be aware that they will not have a claim. We will structure in the contract what we anticipate happening, and then so they will be aware of that, and we will simply update the drawings, and they'll be, and we'll move forward as such. So that is the two items, both. There we go. Those are two items: the construction, the marsh grass mapping, and the shellfish relocation, as well as the potential for the realignment in the Bay Area. Also, as we move into the mechanical work, an item we want to look at is the Cobia Street bulkhead. That Cobia Street is the offloading site proposed for all the mechanical work that we take out of both the feeder channel and the Bay Area. And we're looking at that bulkhead. As we pull trucks to that and put equipment very close to the water line on that bulkhead, we want to make sure that we have stability in that area, that we don't cause that bulkhead to collapse. So we're looking at that as well. We do believe there'll need to be a temporary structure put in there, a more substantial bulkhead. Looking at, these are the blueprints, the signed and sealed drawings from that when that bulkhead was replaced, I believe in 2017 or 19. I'm not quite sure, but do not believe it's substantial enough to hold what would be the number of trucks and material and weight going into those trucks. So we do believe that there will need to be some type of stabilization in that area. But so we're also looking at that as part of the bid process as we prepare the plans and specs and get those ready to go. And so with that, we believe that pending council decision, we can move forward and have the bids out for the mechanical work in late May, early June, and then secure a construction contract in the July timeframe, award in August, and then be ready for construction November 16th and move forward. Structuring the contract to be one season. That will be a lot of work, but would have all the dredging done prior to March 31st, 2022. And with that, I will try to give a quick update, but happy to go back and answer any questions if I may.
Are we going to discuss these details later on in this meeting? When?
I can, either way, I'll be here all night or as long as I need to be.
You do have it on your agenda later for the construction amendment.
Under old business one.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So we need to go out and count shellfish again?
Not count, just move.
Just move.
Just move. So we'll be, yes.
Okay, and these are different from the 13,000 that we identified in North Jinks Creek?
Correct. We're not going to North
in this
Jinks Creek.
process?
Correct. Expected to be, since it is in the summer, it could be swimming. It could be on a boat with clam rakes, simply raking the, one way or the other, we'll be raking the dredge footprint and then moving, as we collect shellfish, just move them out of the dredge footprint to a non-disturbed area.
You can put any of the oysters over by my house. We have folks who come by every week to harvest oysters.
I appreciate that.
Robert, a question about the offload.
Yes.
So the material from the mechanical dredging will all be offloaded at Cobia?
For the Bay Area and feeder channel, yeah, that is the proposal, is to come off of Cobia Street. Marys and Turtles Creek could come off of, we're planning to come off of the public boat route.
So the material is going to come around from the Bay Area to the end of Cobia Street? That seems like an awful way or long way around. Is there a closer offload point that would be possible?
There could be. The street ends, we looked at two street ends down there off of Shoreline Drive, I believe. But when we planned this project, the feeder channel had far fewer docks. and the access was far easier. But we planned on Covia Street trying to do one site to concentrate the work right there instead of spreading it out and having multiple offload sites. I believe it can be worked in a fashion that it's not over disturbing. I'm hesitant to put multiple offload sites out there just because of the disruption and the work that would need to be done to protect those areas. There's going to be a lot of work to remove that. We could look at
Just
putting
seems like a
more
long way around from the Back Bay area down to the other side of Cobia. It's a long way.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to travel somewhere. Nothing's ideal. I don't like the thought of trucks coming through Sunset Beach. That many trucks. I don't like we wanted to do hydraulic to the islands. The Corps made that rather difficult. There's happy to look at options, but I think putting it in one location keeps it constant. It will be concentrated in that area, but I think there is some benefit to that. There is a potential for road damage as we put those trucks in there, and so keeping that the construction zone concentrated was the thought process there. And limited, we can protect that one area instead of having to monitor 4 or 5 or whatever.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's the best way, but it's the way we looked at it and planned it. But there's obviously more ways than one to skin a cat, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Neal?
I'm good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up will be our ERC presentation and report from ERC member Mr. John Farrell.
Right away?
Yes.
How you doing, sir? I think each council member, if I'm not mistaken, each one of y'all got your packet ahead of time. I take it that each one of you's looked into this, read through, correct?
Yes.
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 All right, Mr. Farrell. So I think everybody should be briefed on it, so they'll be ready for you to give your summary
Okay.
for this issue.
That was a couple of tough acts to follow. The ERC has had a focus on recycling for quite a while. We're going to make a recommendation to work with DEQ, with the Division of Environmental Assistance and Customer Service, part of the DEQ, to help us with the further development of a recycling program. But it's been a while since we've talked to you about recycling, so I kind of wanted to give you an update. In January, we started with a discussion at our ERC meeting with the Brunswick County Solid Waste and Recycling Coordinator, a woman named Mickey Bozeman. She was very helpful in educating us about what the requirements and the services offered by Brunswick County are, and helping us find resources that we might use to educate the public and ourselves about recycling in Brunswick County. In February at our meeting, we looked at a YouTube video of the material recycling facility in Jacksonville, North Carolina, that's owned and operated by a company called Sunoco Recycling. Sunoco is an affiliate of a company called Sunoco Products. The plastic and paper recycled by Sunoco Recycling goes to the parent company to make products that they sell in this region. They sell the plastic clamshells that you buy food products in. They sell paper products that are used on a wide variety of industrial and commercial activities. And then in March, we decided to learn more about Sunoco, so we invited one of their people to speak to us about Sunoco Recycling to learn more about that. Everybody's been very helpful. Everybody's educated us very well. In April, with the encouragement from John Corbett, there was a virtual meeting that was held by the Division of Environmental Assistance and Customer Service for interested people in Brunswick County about recycling. Greg Ackrey, the vice chairman of the ERC, and I participated in that for the ERC, and Tara also participated in that for Sunset Beach. That meeting really opened my eyes to the capabilities of the DEQ to help with recycling. And this organization that ran the virtual meeting is a tremendous resource. Part of the service that they offer is something called a local government recycling assistance team, where they will bring in a group of people and work with the local governments to evaluate, make recommendations, direct us towards resources in the form of grants or educational material or whatever is available. They know where it is, and we're just learning all about this stuff. Specifically, I've had some discussion with them, but I haven't fully committed to working with them yet because I felt like I needed permission from the council to do that. It was made very clear when the ERC was formed that we had to have permission to go out and work with the county and state agencies with whatever we were doing. So basically my recommendation here tonight is to tell you that I think you should give us permission to do that. And in addition, there's some other things that we've learned about that I want to share with you and get you to start thinking about other things that could be done to improve this. A big part of the April 5th meeting had to do with enforcement. The DEQ made a point of emphasizing that the state of North Carolina has a couple of general statutes that are quite specific to recycling. And there is a letter in your package that was sent out to all municipalities in September of last year that emphasized these. And I assume you've seen those before, and that's not anything new to you. But it was new to me, it was new to members of our committee, and it kind of gave us a little different perspective on recycling and what should be done. The first part of that is that it's in North Carolina, the disposal of plastic bottles and aluminum cans is banned from landfills. It's not allowed. They have to go somewhere else. Where else would they go except a recycling facility? The other thing is municipalities are supposed to work towards reducing the solid waste generated in their community. And they're supposed to find a way to separate paper, plastics, glass, and cans from the household waste stream, because those are not supposed to go to landfills. When I looked into Brunswick County landfill situation, the landfill in Bolivia is limited only to the disposal of construction and demolition debris. Nobody's household waste goes to Bolivia. So where does it go? It goes to GFI's landfill in Sampson County, near a little town called Roseboro, 90 miles away. So the trash that gets picked up at our houses goes to Bolivia, get transferred from a pickup truck to a transfer truck, and then hauled 90 miles up the road to a privately owned landfill. The recycling that gets picked up also goes to Bolivia, where it gets transferred, put into trucks, and sent up to Jacksonville, which is 110 miles away. There really isn't any option. There isn't any vision that is going to be anything different for quite a while in the future. And the cost associated with the disposal of either household waste or recycling material is going to go up as the cost to transport those things go up. A lot of people that I've talked to think that recycling doesn't work, that there's no market for it. Well, in the Carolinas, that's not true. 80% of the material that is recycled gets processed and is reused in business. It's used as raw material for manufacturing. That's very unique to where I come from the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. That isn't the experience that we had, and that's not the experience that you read about in the newspapers with the country of China shutting the door to receiving our waste. Recycled material is a raw material. It's used locally. It makes jobs. It stimulates the economy of the Southeast, and it should be supported. I think that's one of the reasons why the state of North Carolina instituted the laws that they did to try to encourage and push the material into recycling rather than landfilling. Household waste collection is run by Brunswick County. The cost of that is included in our Brunswick County taxes. The cost of recycling is a participation fee charged by Sunset Beach. There are also convenience centers set up and operated by Brunswick County, where people can take their own recycling and dispose of it. There's one on Seaside Road, just on the north side of town. There's also one in Ocean Isle Beach over by the recreation park. We have a statistic that says Sunset Beach participates about 20% in curbside recycling. According to the DEQ across the state of North Carolina, 90% of people participate in curbside recycling. We don't know what the real number is because we don't know how many people take the recycled materials to the convenience center.
But when you go up there at certain times, the place is pretty busy. And those containers get filled up regularly with material. So I think there's a bigger participation in recycling than the 20% would indicate. But I think we can do better. I think Sunset Beach can get more people involved in recycling. And it's really not a matter of legal pressure or enforcing the laws as much as it is education and communication with people. And that's what I think the DEQ can, or the Division of Environmental Assistance and Customer Service can help us do, is get a better program going. Now, Tara has ordered materials custom printed for Sunset Beach that'll go out in a mailing, but one mailing a year we need more exposure. We need more volume of communications with people. We need people to understand what the law is in North Carolina and how they participate in meeting the requirements of the state. There are several attachments to my report. I'll be happy to answer questions about it. I don't want to take the time tonight to go through the details of that, but they provide the background to what DEECs can do, what's required by the state, and what's available from the DEQ. And that all goes towards guiding us in the ERC towards recommending a program down the road to be more proactive, more cost efficient, more effective in doing recycling.
Does any member of council have any questions in regards to where we're at with this?
Are you
John,
finished?
Our, 3.5 years ago, I went to the town administrator and Tara and talked about mandatory recycling. And even if it was mandatory, people would not participate. For the town to fund that, and Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, it would have been an increase of 4 cents in the tax rate.
The total dollar amount that we had been given from GFL was $406,000 a year.
And that would be 4 cents on the tax rate, or? It,
Maybe 3, Charlie, but.
Jeez.
So does ERC, have you come up with a specific, an objective where you're trying to get? Are you trying to get mandatory recycling, or?
We're trying to find the best way to do it, John.
Okay.
Clearly, mandatory recycling is is the best practice, particularly in the coastal Carolinas. Sunset Beach and Holden Beach are the only two communities in coastal North Carolina that don't have mandatory recycling. Now, I know it's expensive, Charlie. It's going to be expensive to dispose of household waste. So, I mean, our costs are going to continue to go up, particularly because the county doesn't have a landfill that they control and operate themselves. It's all privately owned.
So if you participate in recycling, does your regular waste costs go down?
No.
That's part of the issue, I think.
I know it's part of the issue. There isn't any way to reduce the cost that we're going to see in the future. It's going to be more expensive if we don't recycle, and it's going to be expensive if we do recycle. It used to be, many years ago, I was involved in private industry in the waste energy business. And it used to be recycling was a revenue stream.
Mm-hmm.
You recycled material, you sold it, you got extra money.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's different. Today, you have your waste, you recycle it, there's a processing cost. The value of the recyclables is highly volatile. And sometimes you're going to make money on it, and sometimes you're not. But it supports the economy of North Carolina. It supports jobs of people working in industry. The recycling center in Jacksonville is not the only one in North Carolina. There's one in Raleigh, there's one in Charlotte, and there's several in South Carolina, if I understand correctly. So this is a very widespread operation, and they feed products to their company and to other companies to make products that are sold and used in our communities.
So what you're asking for now is to work with DEQ, who will advise you on how you could expand the recycling programs. Is that the idea?
They're going to advise us on how to communicate to try to encourage people to be a participant in recycling. Either at curbside or directly at the convenience center. But there are a couple other things that I found. This is not in your packet. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Take the bottom.
The reason it's not in your packet is this was my spare time activity over the weekend. I tried to look through the town ordinances on recycling. I find that the town ordinances prohibit littering and having glassware on the beach. But I couldn't find anything about recycling. Particularly relating back to the requirements, to the statutes that North Carolina has about recycling. We talked about best practices. The best practices of the towns in coastal Carolina are mandatory recycling at the residences and at each beach access point and in each town space, so that people have places to put their recycling. When there aren't enough places for recycling to be separated and collected, it gets commingled with regular household waste. And if that is visible to GFI, they will refuse to dump that in the landfill. They're required to by law.
So sorry to interrupt. So again, to just kind of go back to what are you looking from us tonight? What are you looking from us as far as a council?
I want your permission to work with Deeks and further develop this program, developing education and communication programs. And that's where we want to go next.
Thank you.
Is there a cost involved
No,
in working with Deeks to get support from Deeks?
they don't charge anything to the town for that.
What kind of town staff commitment is going to be needed? Or is this something that the ERC is going to be able to take, process the information materials that Deeks provides and the information you get, and then feed it back to the council? Or are you going to require staff support
Um,
and manpower? Yeah.
That's to be determined. I don't see this to be a big drain on the staff. Deeks has a lot of resources that will do the work. We will obviously consult with the staff and let them know what we're doing, and welcome their participation as they feel they need to. But we're not just going to bring this in and lay it on the table and walk out the door.
There's something more in that's gonna come back to you and your group, correct? Y'all will be looking over everything. and going
Yeah.
from there. Okay.
Your
Can I just
thoughts,
ask
please,
one
sir?
question?
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
just out of curiosity with them, just because I'm looking at it from the staff side. What timeline are we on? Because for me, sending out what we send out to the staff or to the citizens goes out in July. So we only have about 2 months before we do our mailer. And so if we reach out to DEQ, do you have any idea of, are they going to be doing anything with what we're trying to send, what we send out, or just what does it involve for the town?
What we're going to do is we're going to look at what you've developed, and we're going to come up with some complementary communications to go with it. That,
So would we be looking at it for this year, or do you think it would be more of a next year type thing?
no, I hope we can get it done this year.
Okay. That was my only, I was just because of, so you know what our timeline is as far as
Right.
getting out time. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have a great opportunity with the short time between now and July to communicate more to people and get more people interested to participate in the recycling program. So,
The education is, I think, is a key part of that. Just for background, what's it cost to do one of the mailings?
The cost of the mailings is around $6,000.
Okay.
I mean, every year it just depends. Like we have to go out, get a quote, and they send it back to us.
So we definitely would not want to add additional mailings. It's sort of the timeline, get it in for this mailing, or then refine it.
One of the
So we
things
go to
that's
the
on
next.
here that's listed in this, we have already applied for, and that's the recycling education. We didn't actually do a custom. We didn't buy anything custom, but we did put in for the grant for the education. It was very. You just say that you wanted it, and it's their information that they send directly out to the citizens of Sunset Beach. So we did apply for that. That is part of the.
so you've already
One of the-
applied to the
that's-
May 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
That's already been done.
Is that money committed to your communications, or is that in addition to?
No, that was what I had
That's what you
brought
used.
to you.
Okay.
That's one and the same.
All right, I didn't understand that.
Anyone else got any questions?
Not for me.
And just to make you all aware, our mailing that we send out to the residents is a two-sided, folded, mailed piece of paper. So if we increase, and it's full. So if we increase paper size, the cost will go up.
Okay, so.
And that's mostly because of the finance and what their deadlines are, and needing to have their information put on it for the application. It's not necessarily educational, but
It's the information we need for the program.
Yeah.
Right. So I need to talk more to you to get more detail about what you're doing and.
And one of the things to be clear, John, I think you talked about recycling participation fee is charged by Sunset Beach. You know, just to be clear, as I understand it, Sunset Beach administers, is it the county program?
It administers the county program that the town participates
That
in
we
for a
particip-
reduced or a discounted rate.
And that gets all the individuals discounts.
Right. And the only way
More
we
than
get
they
that
would-
discount is
Yeah.
that staff administers that program.
Okay.
John, I may have gotten caught up in
Okay.
the
I mean, just
details there, but.
yeah.
but
We
it's a
do the
participa-
admin work and we get a significant discount from the county and in this part of the recycling program. And that is also one of the reasons to encourage people to sign up for the town administered recycling program, as well as we have trouble getting that to happen too.
Right.
The other concern that I have is even with the governor, the two laws that got put into effect, I went through them relatively quickly, but I didn't see anything really about enforcement. I mean, so when GFL goes and finds aluminum beer cans and plastic bottles in a regular garbage container, you know, there's no start of an enforcement process or anything, and I'm not advocating doing that, but what I'm just pointing out. We had the same problem trying to figure out how do we put recycling on the beach. We put one recycle can on the beach along with one regular trash can. There's no practical way to enforce that. And the first person who comes in and mixes it causes
They
a problem and all
contaminate it.
that gets rejected.
Right.
So,
They-
I mean, that's one of the reasons we don't have that type of recycling taking place on the beach right now. It's not that we didn't check and work on it. It's so we need, you know, if Deeks can provide educational information to help sell recycling better, I think that would be a good thing.
Enforcement is a very difficult thing. In your household waste, when you put it in the can, whatever color you have, ours is gray, it's supposed to be in a bag. So there's no way to pick up the lid and see if you've got recyclable material in there. You can open the recycling cans, and there is a tagging system that GFI has. If they open a recycling container and see that it's contaminated with non-recyclable material, they will tag it and leave it there. They won't dispose of it. But the only alternative the person has is to put it in the trash.
So again, we're not here to discuss the methods of recycling.
Yeah.
We're just here to determine if we're going to move forward with this. And I think if we can work to get some education out there and it doesn't cost us anything, I think it's a valuable thing that we should do. And I make a motion that we should allow the ERC to pursue this interaction with this group, DEACS, the Deeks group, and see if they can provide us a way to help get education into our community.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Gentlemen,
Thanks,
thank
sir.
you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Next up is our public comments on agenda items only. See Ms. Sendai for some over. No? All right. Moving on, consent agenda. April 5, 2021, first regular meeting minutes. April 12th, 2021, special meeting minutes. April 14th, 2021, special meeting minutes. April 20th, 2021, second regular meeting minutes. Building inspection departments, March 21 report, Fire Department March 21 report, Stormwater Department March 21 report, Planning Department March 21 report, Financing Department March 2020 report, Public Works Department March 2021 report, and Police Department March 2021 report. All the councilmen have had your packets. Does anybody have any questions or any regards to any of these meeting minutes or any of these departments?
I have one. This is for the finance report, Tara. You reported that the impact of the accommodations tax exceeded the amended budget revenues for FY 2021. What does that mean for us? Is that good news or bad news? And do we have to do anything?
That's good news. So we've already exceeded our expected revenues for the year. That's all. So I mean, we are going to have a budget amendment coming up for different things, different expenditures, just kind of our cleanup at the end of the year. And so it would mean that we have revenue instead of fund balance.
And we still have 3 more months of accommodation taxes.
Yeah, we're going to far
collect
exceed
for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
So this will.
We're doing well in the accommodation tax.
Good. All right. Thanks.
Anybody else got any questions?
No.
No, sir. I'd like to
Do I
make
have
a
a
motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all can go released. Moving on to our town administrator report. Our town administrator assistant, Miss Lisa Anglin, will be. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've only got 2 things for you. North Carolina DOT has notified the town that they will be doing bridge maintenance on our bridge. There'll be nighttime work completed, and they'll have lane closures. We are looking at Monday, May 10th through May 13th from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m. Police and fire have been notified, as well as EMS services. Both of them have put it on Facebook already, and I will be putting it on the website and sending out a notification through e-alert later on this week that that's coming.
Is this regular maintenance or is there a problem?
This is bridge joint replacement. Benefits for work. This work is imperative to the safe travel of motor vehicles.
Are the joints falling apart already?
No, I think the maintenance is to
routine
make sure
maintenance.
that it probably doesn't.
So
What else you got for us?
And the only other thing I have for you is just an FYI to let you all know that planning board will be meeting on Thursday of this week, and they will be reviewing a text initiated amendment regarding townhomes and duplexes that will hopefully be coming on up the ladder to you for your May 18th meeting to schedule a public hearing for June.
That's it, ma'am.
And I'll answer any questions you got.
Anybody got any questions? All right, thank you, Lisa. Moving on to our old business, the dredging project construction phase of scope of work consideration. Mr. Robert Neal.
Hello again, council. What I'm presenting tonight is a scope of work and the last scope of work prior to construction and prior to 2023. But to move forward with both the hydraulic and the mechanical, so the entire navigation project to move us through completion of that. It includes the items that we discussed in the presentation as far as the marsh grass mapping, the shellfish relocation, the bulkhead evaluation, as well as project coordination and construction administration services. During construction administration, we anticipate having a very heavy presence on site with the contractor to coordinate with the contractor and monitor that work, as well as update the town and citizens of or interested parties of the schedule for that work and how it's progressing and an anticipated completion date on a weekly basis. We anticipate monthly council meetings that we can present what's the construction that has been accomplished, and then just tracking that process through. Also entails a post-construction report to sort of summarize the activities during the work, and then the monitoring. We evaluate the contractor survey and sediment samples to show how the sediment, the placed sediment is reacting. Start that process for future monitoring, sort of a baseline report to establish how that nearshore placement area behaves, so to speak, or performs. But the total cost is $255,000 over about a 14-month period.
So to be clear, a number of these things are long anticipated as part of the original package that you gave to us. Things like the program, project coordination, the solicitation of the contracts, the construction administration, and the post-construction monitoring. All those are pretty standard. And then then there are a number of things responding to what the Corps of Engineers required,
Yes.
such as moving the shellfish.
Well, the post-construction monitoring is the task 7, I believe.
Yes.
Is new, based on the core report. The rest of it was anticipated. The bulkhead evaluation was added late, but we needed to do that. So from the permit, the item 7 post-construction monitoring is new, and then the construction administration, we are proposing a rather heavy presence for this type of work. We generally, for mechanical type excavation, we would say 1 day a week. For nearshore replacement, maybe 2 or 3 days a week. We're proposing 5 days every 2 weeks for the 4 days a week for the nearshore replacement, and then 5 days every 2 weeks for the mechanical work. So it is a heavy presence for that, but due to the concerns, we felt that would be beneficial to the project. And so yes, these items were anticipated, except for those two were a little bit heavier than.
And to clarify, task number 8, the South Jigs Creek contractor solicitation. This is kind of after the fact, because that's the work you already did to prepare and put out the bids and get us prepared to sign a contract with South Jigs Creek.
Yes, that was, we were working on the shoaling analysis, and we diverted funds from that to complete the bid advertisement for South Jinks Creek, concentrated on that. And we were acknowledging, we worked at risk to complete that work. And so now just bringing it forward.
So we're paying you back for that one.
Yes, that is what we're asking for, yes.
Okay.
But that was work that we would have had to have done at some point anyway, right? It wasn't the fact that it was done in anticipation of the...
Correct. It was anticipated to be done. We in order to meet that March deadline, we attempted to have the work completed by this March. We moved forward at risk to complete that. But yes, it was work that would have to be done regardless.
There was no additional work because
No.
of... Right, okay.
No. It was separate bid package, separate work, separate from what we're working on now.
Right.
It's completely separate.
The post-construction monitoring is a 3-year program, and you'll be doing that at certain periods. Is that how that works?
That's what we're proposing. I mean, this is each year we would have to resurvey and then write a report based on the survey results to show where that sediment is migrating to, or that it's not migrating under the pier. Rather, is what we would intend to show, and also that it's not migrating back to Tubbs Inlet or not accumulating, not going to block the inlet, so to speak. Is the intent of that. But it is required for a 3-year period after construction. So the first one is kind of like year 0, and near year 1. So it's 4 survey events after construction.
What about any other monitoring of the shoaling in of the dredged area? Is that included in this?
That's not included in this. For this type of project, I've thought a lot about how I would structure that monitoring report, and I would probably not survey any sooner than every 3 years, perhaps 5. But just because we haven't we have the voters out there and they're going to see, I think, we have that comment, but we do not include that in this report. And I think that to be so far, I wouldn't propose a very concentrated effort on that.
But that's something that the town would have to come back and say, we want to check that, we'd like to have this checked again.
Yes, as we move forward, I mean, yes, we would, yes, we could discuss that, or the town as they choose to move forward, yes.
So as far as maintenance dredging, we wouldn't quite know until we sort of reach the point that we start to see that things are starting to fill in and we need to start thinking about it.
Well, we have the 2 surveys now, so we're estimating we can verify it. Yes, the main additional surveys in post-year constructions would help verify the data we have now. Conducting the 2016 surveys and the 2020 surveys gives us that analysis, gives us an idea of what it will be. But correct, anytime the construction, we'd have to monitor the performance. It's just how much effort do we put into that, which, so much activity going on out there. It is a question of just how much effort and activity and cost.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I could
Go
clarify
ahead.
one thing, since you all are looking at a scope of work over several years now that we've been dealing with these scopes of work with Mr. Neal, a lot of questions have come up to how he is paid and how you all are justifying the work that has been done for the invoices that have been paid. And just to clarify for you all, as these tasks are completed or percentages are completed, that's how he is paid. So he's not paid on a per thing. He's paid on a task and the percentage of the task completed. Just to clarify for the public who's may or may not be aware of how contract invoicing and payment in the state of North Carolina works.
And with that, we try and give the monthly updates to show the percent of progress completed and to track along with that.
Correct. And that goes along with the invoices as they come in to show us that X number of percentage per task have been completed, which equals his monthly report as well as the invoice.
And that's the standard contracting process?
When you're dealing with like these projects.
For big projects
Yes.
like this? Yeah.
Yes, when you're dealing with very large projects that spanned over multiple years.
Sort of the same way that the bank tracks the progress in construction of a home.
Correct.
And authorizes payments to the contractor, same type of way.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly. So it just seemed like a good time for me to point out that, because we do get that question and we do get public records requests for that questioning that practice.
I'm good? Nope.
Do we need any action here?
Need to make a motion?
I think we need to, yeah.
In regards to this construction phase here and the things that Mr. Neal's speaking of, does someone have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the construction phase services
Okay.
that Mr. Neal's proposed.
Do I have a
here.
second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up be our ordinance to amend Article 6 and Article 8 MR3 District. Mr. Chad. Go ahead, sir.
This is the public hearing to amend Section 6 and 8 of the UDO as far as lot width, minimum lot width, or lot size, minimum lot width, and increase in setbacks from 5 feet to 10% of the lot width. Also, fixing the nonconformity section and the uses, along with structures use and non-conforming uses, non-conforming structures, and non-conforming lots. I wanted to give you a brief update in some submittals that we got earlier today and Friday. Pelican Reserve with Riptide has submitted their single-family lot. I don't know the total number of tracks or lots that they're proposing in that yet. And then Jaguar's Lair has submitted the remainder of their development for preliminary plat as well. Both will go to June TRC and July Planning Board potentially for approval.
So what does that mean about these amendments? Do these amendments have any impact on those packages that are in?
No, I mean, they have permit choice now. So those and what was approved are under the guidance of the current UDO. And I was going to reiterate that along with the setbacks, along with the lot width. Ultimately, this falls under, let's say, if we were to amend this tonight or not to amend this tonight, but let's say we amend this tonight and preliminary plat gets approved, and they lose vested rights or don't, or stuff like that, then at that point, would they, at some point, if they lost vested rights on a turned in application or approved preliminary plat anywhere down the road, at that point, they would have to come and be under these newly adopted UDO amendments.
Okay.
That's a big if.
On the current process where they have made these applications.
Correct. Okay.
How long do they have to do the work in order to stay vested? Or at what point would they lose the vested rights?
As of right now,
Yeah.
the UDO states a year after preliminary plat approval by the planning board. However, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, with COVID, you get additional time under that. I don't know if that's a general statute rule or if that's a state rule or governors under the governor's executive order, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
So
at this point in time, these applications for Pelican Reserve, for completing Jaguar's Lair. Now that takes it all the way out to the Angel Trace area, right?
Correct.
As well as the Gulls
Landing, the ones in Riptide, Gulls Landing, Birdwatch, now Pelican Reserve.
Okay.
Paramount Engineering with the Sanctuary and Bill Clark Homes.
Right.
And now
H&H.
H&H. They're a little bit different. They're more multifamily. And then you have.
But they have these changes have no impact on the multifamily.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Along with Jaguar's Lair and Ocean Ridge.
So everything that's been applied for so far
has permit choice.
Is covered.
Correct.
And Edgewood Bluffs, which is multifamily and has caused concern.
Correct.
But that paperwork is already in.
It is.
And this does not affect.
Correct.
Any of those.
And that goes back to, a little bit of a tangent, that goes back to what the planning board has expedited with coming out of that meeting last Wednesday, that we are going to fix the hole in the UDO, or attempt to fix the hole in the UDO, by initiating a text amendment to bring before you, hopefully approved by the planning board on Thursday, to fix the hole in the UDO about the common wall divide with not only duplex, but also townhomes.
So, is there anything that Riptide or Bill Clark or Coastal Communities, I think that's Jaguar's Lair, or the other developers, Sunset Ridge has a program going, is there anything that they have applied for that they're trying to do that we have said, no, they cannot do?
No.
We've approved everything.
No. Yes.
So why are they raising such a fuss with us?
Good question.
Okay. And the Discovery Lakes portion is in the Riptide plan, is
if I'm not
described as a
mistaken, that's
multifamily.
multifamily.
As multifamily.
Yeah.
So however they do that multifamily with the
Special use permit.
the special use permit, which we have done.
Correct.
Which is pretty much common throughout this county at least.
Yes.
And the text amendment that you're talking about, if they chose to go that way, you know. So again, there's,
If Riptide, if Sea Trail sticks to their master plan,
yeah,
I don't know what other single family development land is out there. Now, granted, I'm not speaking for Riptide. I can't speak for
Yeah.
Riptide, but we have discussed that before.
yeah. But I just want to make it clear. I mean,
Yes.
I'm trying to find out, you know, Riptide's saying an awful lot of stuff about us. The other guys, the 6 people that signed this letter are complaining that we are anti-development, that
Yeah.
we're not cooperating, and yet everything that has been asked for has been approved.
And I talked to one of the speakers, the husband and wife that spoke earlier, and asked them if they had any questions. And one of the concerns was birdwatch. You know, with the current UDO amendments that are changing, would affect birdwatch. No, it wouldn't. It would not. They would be subject under the current UDO or UDO as it states, under how it was submitted and approved for preliminary plat.
So then what will this affect?
Also, good question. We thought, you know, going into this, the remaining land out there was the remaining of Jaguar's Lair and development within Sea Trail. If Riptide Sea Trail sticks to their master plan, unless they convert any on their plan to multifamily, the single family, it would affect that. I can't speak for them. I just know what they've sent out to everybody. It's not a master development plan that is guided under approval by the planning board. It is a master plan that they have submitted since, I'm assuming, the 90s, or to my understanding, the 90s, that they have looked at fulfilling. Jaguar's Lair has permit choice now. They have submitted a complete application. That was the other remaining track that was in that big undeveloped section of MR3 as well. So to my knowledge, it would be land that would be potentially maybe rezoned down the line to MR3. But I'm not 100% sure, and there's not a lot out there now that doesn't have an application in for this amendment effect.
The one thing that it would protect us is if these projects that have been approved and are able to go underway, if for whatever reason they do not happen, and they lose their vesting, then that area would be affected by the UDO.
Correct.
And that has no effect on anything currently.
Correct. And they have the right to come back before planning board and ask for continuation of their vested rights.
And it is up to the developer to do that.
Yeah.
The plans that you've seen for Pelican Reserve, were those lots at 10,000
I
square
just
feet?
got them today, and I got them Friday with all the computer issues that we've had, and also I just got Jaguar's Lair today. I have not had a time to take a look at them in depth.
Understood.
You know, I really resent the fact that Riptide has put out all this misinformation, how the town is trying to stop them from completing a project in Sea Trail, and they asked for de-annexation of a very large part of Sea Trail. It seems to me that at that time, we had already approved 3 Riptide projects. Birdwatch, which I don't have information how many houses that is. Gulf Landing, that's the approval of 98 homes on the golf driving range, where all they talk about how important the golf is and how important they want to bring people in. Who's going to come and play for 3 days when they have to go down the road somewhere if they want to take some practice shots. They're taking away a big part of the 3 golf courses. And Eastwood Bluffs has been approved for 22 buildings. And that's all multifamily, 4 units per building.
4 units per building, yes, sir.
And when I look at this, it seems to me that they want de-annexation because we're not going to allow them to double the amount of living units in Eastwood Bluffs. I still don't see where the only amenities they mention. Now I live in Sea Trail, and I've got a lot of friends in Sea Trail and neighbors, and if they try and use the swimming pool or the workout area, that's sometimes it's almost impossible. But in any of those approved plans, except Eastwood Bluffs, I don't see any buildings where they could be used for meetings or workout rooms. I don't see any additional swimming pools. I'm sure that Eastwood Bluffs pool will not be open to everybody who lives in Sea Trail. I just think they have a lot of nerve putting this back on the town and then allowing their representative, Mr. Rademacher, to try and get Chad to sign off.
Charlie,
Charlie.
I don't think we should
Charlie.
be speaking about people specifically.
Well, it's not the town that's the problem.
Okay.
I'm done.
Good.
Back up.
So what next?
You have a motion in front of you to either accept it, table it, deny it, send it back, or let me start over. You can accept the recommendation and adopt the amendments. You can decline it. You can table it to another specific meeting, or you can send it back to planning board for a rework. Essentially, it's all up to you as the board.
What is council's wish?
You need a motion?
Is there a downside for voting on this? Would it have any other unintended effects?
No, sir. The only thing that this would affect, unless one of these developers do lose their vested rights, would be any property that is brought into the town through voluntary annexation or through the extension of our ETJ area.
Sounds reasonable.
So with that, what is the pleasure of the board?
How long will it take us to know what was just submitted today or within the last day or two? What's being asked for there?
That will go to TRC for comment, and I'll have my review done about a week before then. I can have it done quicker if that's what the council would like me to do. That will go, what's the TRC date? In June. I think it's the first Wednesday of the month in June.
That's going to be the 10th or somewhere around there.
It's before that. Or is it the
But it
10th?
doesn't make any difference? It's not going to affect the sizes or anything, and it's not going to affect
No.
the approval or disapproval?
Correct, because it does have permit choice. But if you're just looking for the information on what was submitted to base your decision on tonight, I can provide that for you.
No, I don't know that it's important to to make a decision on this, but I would like to know
Oh, yeah.
at some point.
What's y'all's decision? Are we gonna accept this, what they're asking for? Or you want to table it, or do away with it, or where we go from here?
You would need a motion.
What I'm asking, which way they wanna go.
And
I'll
Mr.
make an emotion to amend Article 6 and Article 8, the MR3 districts as contained in this proposal.
And if you would, if you look down on page 12 of your packet, or packet page 15, you will see a planning board summary, packet page 16 on the town council summary. If you will include that into your motion tonight for the consistency statement, you're either stating that it is consistent or inconsistent with the land use plan.
Okay, the town council hereby adopts the proposed amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance and finds that it is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan 2017 Town of Sunset Beach Land Use Plan to allow a density modification in the MR3 zoning district, and finds that it is in the public interest because the proposal is in accordance with the goals and the citizens' desires as outlined in the 2017 land use plan.
Second. Got a second? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, sir.
Thank y'all.
I guess.
Moving
Just to be redundant, it does not affect anything that's in progress now.
Moving on next to our 3 draft budget ordinance request for a public hearing. Ms. Terry.
I'm sorry, Mayor, as long as they maintain their vested rights.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Thank you, Chad. Go ahead, Tara. Sorry.
So in your packet, you have a balanced budget. And unless there's any questions about the final draft or any amendments that anybody wants to see in this final draft budget, we need to schedule a public hearing for Monday, June 7th at 7 p.m. I want to also say that the packet is available on our website, and you can also come and see the final draft ordinance at Town Hall by appointment. You just have to call the main line and press 0, and we can set up an appointment for you to view the budget. So are there any?
Motion. A motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Moving on to Town Park.
Mayor, if
Barbara?
I may, and
Go ahead.
just to reiterate, this budget does not include a tax increase.
Right.
We maintain the tax rate at 16 cents.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that back out, Lisa. Thank you, Tara, for everything you've done. Town Park Arborist report and recommendations. Dustin, he's not here. You gonna take this, Lisa?
I'm sorry, he was under the weather this afternoon and asked to be excused. During the preliminary budget meetings that we had with the council, one of the items was for us to have an arborist review the town park and the trees there and give us a report and an update of their expert advice on if we needed to do anything, and if so, what. And what you have in your packet now is the report that we received from M&M Tree Service and Red Tail Tree Service, both giving us a quote and their recommendations. We've also included a map of the, or an aerial view, I guess, of the trees that they are suggesting that come down due to diseased or dying or dead trees. And then the last thing you have is the picture of the tree that is in the worst shape. So we basically just need an up or down with what you want us to do. We're looking at $6,400 from M&M and $2,900 from Red Tail.
normally to see a $5,500 difference would make me leery. But I've seen red tails work. When we got permission from the town to trim the trees, the limbs hanging over the Veterans Memorial, because of what the birds and the trees did to the memorial, Red Tail did that for no charge. So I would move that we accept Red Tail's bid and award the contract to them.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Next up is our discussion of the state of emergency proclamation review. Mr. Corbett, you got some things
Okay.
to bring into this. Go ahead.
The governor issued, as most everybody is aware, a new executive order that went into effect on April 30th until June 1st. The big thing is that it removed the requirement for face covering to be worn in outdoor settings, although it recommends that they be worn in a crowded situation. They also recommend that persons not fully vaccinated, while not required, should also wear their face covering outdoors. It does still require face covering indoors. Still continues to encourage municipalities to follow the governor's office guidelines to wear a face mask indoors. And it, again, of significance to us, it increases the mass gathering limits to 100 indoors and 200 people outdoors. One of the key impacts that I think we should discuss is the artesian markets that we normally have in the town. With this change of 200 people outside gathering and the outside not needing face mask, I think, and the expectation, one of the things that wasn't in the order, but the expectation is as of June 1, he expects to eliminate face mask requirement altogether, that we should discuss reopening the parks, reopening the markets in the parks. And so two ways to do this are, one, just say approve reopening in June on the condition that the executive order does not contradict that, or approve reopening regardless of what the executive order says in June with guidelines and following the 200 people outside, we can make a instruction to divide the park in half. So half of the tents, the cabanas are on one side and half of the cabanas are on the other side. And that way they could have 400 people going. And rarely have there ever been 400 people going to the market. I don't really think that's necessary. I think it makes sense just to approve restarting the markets in June, unless the executive order contradicts it. Another thing that comes up is our council meetings. We still have a requirement for social distancing, even though we can, the percentages may have changed. So we need to discuss, do we want to continue where only people making public comments come through and do it in the conference room? And open that up to more people? Or do we again want to set a conditional date depending on the executive order in June? In other words, do we want to change how we're running our meetings and our public comments? Do we want to address whether the town should open back up to walk-in visitors? Or do we continue as we're doing now by appointment only? And if we do we want to set a date if we're changing from our appointment only? So what I'm recommending, and one of the attachments with the draft superseding proclamation would have these, but is to, number one, is to approve restarting the artesian markets in June. I'm recommending that we reopen meetings in June conditional on the governor's executive order.
You mean council meetings?
Council meetings, yes. That we continue to make visitors to town hall require an appointment to come in, and that we encourage everybody to get a COVID vaccination, although there's no enforcement capability. And those changes can be made into the proclamation that we have now. And the question is, do you want to do anything different?
I'd just like to say a couple of things. I think by this point, anybody who would like to have been vaccinated in our state could find an appointment to have been vaccinated. From my perspective, the whole idea of getting a vaccination was to be able to go back to life as normal. So I understand that the full council may not support this, but I'm supportive of going back to things as they were prior to all the state of emergencies. And that's my stance on all this. So again, I know I may not have this council support, but that's where I stand. So as soon as we can open things up, I'm all for it.
I agree with Jamie.
So as far as opening up the council, the expectation for June is that there's still supposed to be a distancing requirement or not?
Well, the expectation is no mask inside.
That's it. So,
and if you have no mask inside, there's
no
need to have a distancing issue.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, everything right now just relies on what happens in June. So we can go ahead and set it up as we're going to go ahead and, or if this is the way we go ahead and open everything up, get everything booked, whatever we need to do, open council meetings, everything, unless something happens in the June with the governor, then we would come back and switch it back. But as of right now, going forward from this day, we're looking at June the 1st to be able to go back to full speed. Correct?
Yes.
Unless the governor does something else or the federal. Good.
June 1st is actually on a Tuesday. So are you wanting to, for the mayor to remove, that'll be coming right off of Memorial Day. Are you wanting the mayor to suspend the state of emergency 100% on June 1st? Or do you want us to wait until the June 7th council meeting for the complete council to make that vote?
I'd just soon suspend it as soon as possible. Unless, like I said, unless the feds or the state comes back and tells us any different. So
we will know the week before. The governor normally on the Wednesday or so, Tuesday or Wednesday before
25th, yeah.
Before a weekend makes the announcement of where they're going to go from here.
And Letha, with the support of the council, if he does make that and we get it set up, I could drop it as of Friday, the weekend of Memorial Day, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the way we need to go in and just sort of follow what goes from there. Maybe we can get it open back up full speed as of effective for Memorial Day weekend. I know that would help our businesses and all around here. And I hope that kind of stuff goes on. I hope that they see fit that we're safe enough to do that. Got anything else?
Yeah, that's what happens June 1st. Yeah.
So
You okay with that?
Someone make a motion. Somebody want to make a motion that we change all this? Go ahead and get everything lined up, change this, and effective no later than June the 1st. And then again, may drop it before then.
No later than June 1st?
That would be.
That was when it's supposed to come in effect.
For staff, so that we would know that we would be walking back in June 1st to wide open. if we could make it first contingent on the governor's orders, and second, that if the governor proceeds with reducing or releasing everything, that the mayor will suspend our state of emergency effective May 28th. And you can do it 5 o'clock or 12 noon or whatever.
So moved.
Got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Moving on, new business, mutual aid agreement with the town of Leland. Chief Claymore.
Good evening. This mutual aid agreement that's in your packet was voted on by Leland City Council is before you for a signature. They are helping us out with a vehicle that we have subject to forfeiture as described in this mutual aid agreement. This is just kind of a more formal way for us to say to enter into this agreement. It spells out liability and those sorts of things if anything were to happen during the course of this agreement related to that vehicle.
Anybody got any questions? Have you done read into it?
Are we being charged a storage fee by Leland?
We are not being
No.
charged a
Okay.
storage fee. We researched, I guess I should have added that. We researched storing it locally with one of the towing companies. I think the best rate that Detective Cox could find was $40 a month, which is fair. But I like zero better.
Yeah, zero works out good.
Absolutely.
It
Was this
adds impact to mutual aid.
Was this a confiscated vehicle or an abandoned vehicle?
We're trying to take ownership of it now. It's subject to forfeiture related to an arrest.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And just for you all's knowledge, going forward, once the parking lot is completed, we would have our own impound yard that would be secured.
Anyone got any questions? If not, do I have a motion? We accept this.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next up, will be this discussion of the letter to the FDNY in regards to the 9/11 memorial. Go ahead, Councilman Corbett.
Thank you. I added this at the last minute and appreciate that you're considering it. On February 16th, the council gave approval on co-hosting with the Committee on American Veterans a 20th anniversary 9/11 ceremony at the park. An opportunity has come up to request a piece of metal from the World Trade Center towers that was destroyed on 9/11/2001. And that could be used to build a display memorializing 9/11. And so based on what type of material or how large a material FDNY provides, should they provide it, the Committee on American Veterans in consultation with the town would come up with an appropriate area. We're aiming to try to get something around the memorial, but there might be other locations. And so the attached letter that you have basically says that the town supports the effort to request material from the World Trade Towers, and that we would use in the town supports working with the committee to do an appropriate memorial with that. And so
I'd like to add that the Committee to Honor America's Veterans will assume all costs in
Yes.
reference to this.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And
Any discussion?
I think it's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
I agree.
Do we have a motion to send this letter, the attached letter?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving
Thank
on.
you.
Yes. Moving on to our disposition of directives. We have anything needs to be added coming up?
We're going to have the UDO text amendment
Potentially.
on the 18th.
Yeah, I won't know that until after the planning board meets on Thursday.
Is there anything else? Are we good with what we got right now? Good?
I don't have anything else.
All right. Moving on to our public comments time, see if we have anybody back there. All right. There's nothing else. Council, I have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.